Okay, so today I am here with Katie Berry, who's an account manager at NCM. NCM is a company that sells advertising to advertisers who are looking to reach consumers in the theater. But I'll tell you what, Katie, thank you very much for doing this. And please tell me what you do and what NCM is. You're better at doing that.
Okay, thanks, Roger. Hi, my name is Katie Berry. I'm an account director, not an account manager.
Account director.
Not that it matters. At NCM, which stands for National CineMedia, we are the biggest in-cinema network in the country. We have one other competitor known as Screen Vision, but we are owned and operated by the three largest movie circuits in the country. Those three being AMC, Regal, and Cinemark. And then we have about 50 additional independent theaters that basically carry all of our advertising. So we're pretty busy day in, day out, 365 days a year, with the exception of, the last 4 months. I think it's week 20, as my boss said this past week at our sales meeting, which is pretty scary to try to work on selling something that is no longer sellable because the movie theaters are no longer open.
Well, that's why I wanted to get you on camera, because as I go through marketing with many of my students, I explain that external forces are a big part of how marketers plan their year, plan their marketing, and how companies are able to create channels of communications to those consumers. And then this happened. And what's particularly interesting about your point of view is that you can kind of relate some information to us about what's happening, not just at your company in terms of reaching those audiences, but what's happening within the movie industry. Let's begin with your company. Let's begin with NCM. What was their reaction when all these movie theaters just shut down?
Just to answer your question, basically, it's probably the same reaction that happened in your industry, because I know you work in the theater industry as well, is like, what the hell is going on? We've never experienced anything like this before. It's not as if it was something like external forces as to what happened in 9/11. All movie theaters shut down during 9/11, but within 2 to 3 months, they were back up and running. So there was a plan A or a plan B put in place back then, but within 2 or 3 months, everyone was going to the movie theaters. Then in 2008, we had the recession where there was the big Wall Street drop. I don't know what you call that. The Wall Street took a nosedive. And once again, attendance in theaters dropped. So we figured out another way to do it. So what happens is you have two very different events that happened in the past, 18 to 20 years. And then with this pandemic, once it hit, it was nothing like we had ever experienced before. We never even thought that we'd have to shut not just one section of the company up, not one, circuit maybe in Texas or Florida or California, but across the country, which is over 20,000 screens across the country. It was an incredible jolt to us. So, we just had to sit back as an employee. I'm an account director. I'm one of the soldiers in the field, as I put it, and just wait for upper management. But it's very scary to notice that even the people on the board of directors, we are a publicly traded company. We are, we're at the beck and call of what they say and what they do, and how much money that's brought into the company will determine what happens. And there was nothing going on. So,
you've been in contact with clients during this time. That must be a difficult conversation. Tell us about that.
I'm sure just like everybody is doing, everybody's getting on. We have Microsoft Teams calls, the Zoom calls. I'm even doing house parties with clients. I'm sending over baskets of wine and cheese, and I've even sent over like guacamole and chips and salsa, and we have happy hour from their homes, and we're all on the Zoom calls.
That's really quite cool.
Yeah. And I've sent them even movie tickets to say, hold on to these movie tickets, because within a couple of months' time, you're going to be back at the movie theaters. But what we're doing with our clients is, rather than tell them we're going to be back, and we'll be back sooner than later, because we can't really say that anymore. At the beginning, end of March, April, we were saying within 2 or 3 months, we're going to be back. We're going to be up and running. All those blockbusters that you want to see in the summer months, which we normally have always called peak movie going time, will be back. Well, none of that happened. So we had to pivot and say, how are we going to speak to you guys? What we did was say, here are the measurements that are being put into place so that when the movie theaters are allowed to open up to the public, these are the safety measures that are being put in place. So everything from, Purell stands all over, ordering your movie tickets online. There's no one-on-one with anyone there. Buying your candy or popcorn and your sodas at the concession stand is limited face-to-face.
This is the feedback you're getting from the theater owners or the theater chain.
These are the theater owners, and there's something called the National Association of Theater Owners, NATO, not the political NATO, but the actual theater owners, NATO. And they're saying these are all the precautions we're putting in place to assure people of their safety. They're also selling 25% capacity once they do open, and some of the theaters have opened across the country, or 50% capacity to ensure that people are sitting apart. So all of these measures are being put in place. And the one thing that sets movie going apart than going out for dinner, going to the bar for drinks, which nobody's allowed to do, or going to the church, is that when you walk into a movie theater, you sit in your seat, you're looking forward, you're not chatting with people, you're sitting with your family or your friends, and you're separate from whomever else is there. So they're saying that there's less of a chance of it being spread in the movie theaters. We're trying to convince the powers that be, meaning the politicians, the governors of the states, whether it be, it would be, Governor Murphy or Governor Cuomo, that you need to separate going to the movies as a different place of congregating because of all the measures that are being put in place. So
you're talking about things like screens between customers or audience members?
No, what they're doing is some of the theaters are going to be putting sections in place. So if it's you, your wife, and your 3 kids going, they'll have a section of 5 where you're cordoned off. Some of the theaters are even putting slips on the chairs that are disposable.
Interesting.
And we're also doing, in every auditorium of every theater, what we normally would do is run a movie 4 times per day in each of the auditoriums. But what they're doing with the new rules that are being put in place is we're only showing the movie 3 times.
Gotcha.
So that gives the employees enough time to clean up in between each of the showings. So, I can go on and on and on about what measurements are being put in place to ensure the safety. So that's the one thing that's the information we're sharing with clients now to say, hey, once we're up and running, this is what's going to happen.
Gotcha.
So it's putting their mind at ease, but what's happening is I'm having meeting after meeting after meeting, and then I'm updating them every 2 to 3 weeks, and the opening of the theaters keep getting pushed back, and it's for the most obvious reasons. It's because in Texas, in Florida, in California, in Arizona, which are fairly big markets, is where a lot of our theaters are. And those circuits will not open unless they can open nationwide. Right. So it's very disturbing to me that people are not paying close attention to keeping their masks on, keeping social distancing, and they're screwing it up basically for moviegoers who really want to get back. And for
now, the movie industry itself is also dealing with when to release movies. Should they do it on video on demand? Should they send it into the movie theaters? They keep pushing back dates. What kind of sense or feedback are you getting from the actual movie producers or the studios? Well,
that's another thing we've been sharing with our clients and our agency contacts, is that the James Camerons, all the biggest directors and producers that are out there are saying, we believe in the theater. We believe in the big screen. We believe bringing people together to have this group experience, which you cannot get anywhere else. Right now, people are going through what they call streaming burnout.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I could see that.
and we all are, because we
Yeah.
want to. The one thing that's different between streaming and going to the movies, when you go to a movie, you have to decide, I'm going to get ready. I'm probably going to go for maybe drinks beforehand or afterwards. I'm going to go have a meal with a friend of mine. And you have to actually pick what movie. So you have to physically and mentally prepare yourself. It's not a casual decision that you're making. Whereas when you're streaming, you could be sitting there and, kind of just casually watching. But the same people that are big moviegoers are big streamers. So at least we know that much. And we also have a platform that we sell, something called Cinema Accelerator. So now that the movies are shut down, what we're selling to our advertisers is the opportunity to continue to reach the moviegoer on what we call Cinema Accelerator. So that is following them on all of their personal screens once they leave the movie theater. But of course, they're not leaving the movie theater anymore, but we have this proprietary data in place, and that's about 150 million consumers that we can sell you.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you can still sell that outside of the realm of the movie theater itself, the physical realm.
And we can reach them on OTT and CTV as well. So that's where they're going anyway.
I got you. So tell us a little bit about what your marketers are saying or your advertisers are saying, because you've been in touch with them. You're throwing, these little parties, and which is, customer relationship building without a doubt. What kind of feedback are you getting from them? Now, you deal, I'm sure, with ad agencies as well as directly with some, corporate advertising marketing departments. The agencies must be in a funny place too, because it's a change.
They're in a funny place because there's no live content anymore. There's no sports.
Right.
Think about it. Concerts have been canceled. So what we're selling is, we're saying to them, all of these concerts, these live events have been canceled. Football's been canceled. We don't know if we're going to get, college football. We don't know if they're going to get NFL. What happened with baseball? It started a couple of days ago, and a handful of the baseball players. So you have all this live content, but you have no one in the stands. So you have like cutout cardboard people that are sitting there. What we're saying is, we're coming back, and we're going to be the only live content for the most part available to you when we are up and running, which, knock on wood, will be Labor Day weekend with the launch of Tenet. I don't know if you know the background of that movie Tenet with James Cameron.
Yeah. So let's focus on Labor Day weekend. So do you think, now you said some theaters are already open in some places, and what's your expectation for Labor Day? How many theaters do you think will be opening, or what's going to happen on Labor Day as far
Well,
as
right now the theaters that are open are not showing original content. They're showing good old time movies like Jaws, E.T., the Harry Potter series, just to get people comfortable going back to the movie theater, just to get them comfortable with saying, okay, now we see all of these measurements are being put in place. I feel comfortable. I feel safe. And believe me, if they don't, they do complain to the people that run the theaters individually. And we hear back from them too. But once the movie theaters open in September, we will not open to 100% seating. As I said, 25 to 50%, just because it's the safest way to sort of approach this new way. We don't want to have to shut down again, which is why it's taken us so long to even get to this place.
So I want to clarify something for, for anyone watching this. We're talking about audience members who come to a movie theater and they experience some sort of marketing or marketing message on many different levels. Some of them before the movie starts, some of them as the movie's playing in terms of commercials. You probably have promotions, things like that. Has this event, let's call it that, has it created any kind of new ways that you never thought of reaching these same consumers? In other words, you mentioned, the hand lotion, right? The hand sanitizer.
Yeah.
Has it opened up new categories? Like here, we're in Zoom, and Zoom all of a sudden is it, right? As a result.
Yeah, what we're doing, what we've learned, and I don't know if this has a direct correlation between it. What we've learned is we want to be able to now that we're communicating on Zoom with all of our clients, all of our ad agencies, anyone, we understand that this is kind of a new and very youthful sort of way of communicating, but now everybody's doing it. I remember when I started doing House Party at the advent of this epidemic or event, whatever you want to call it, and my nieces and nephews that are teenagers and they're like, we used to use House Party in like high school. Like, what are you guys doing? Like, we're taking over. So what we've learned is, let's find people who are influencers in each of their communities. So we're starting up this new way of getting people to advertise with us through influencers.
Wow.
So you have these young kids in like LA that are the influencers in like the makeup category or the beauty category, or like these hip kids that are like skateboarders. So rather than just having, and I'm not slamming her, Maria Menounos, who according to our focus groups is a little dated. We're getting all these influencers who are helping us sell our product, and we're just starting to sell that. So I think it's really cool that you're not going to have the same one person in the front in our pre-show. The name of our pre-show is called Newvie, which is new movies. So we rebranded it a couple of years ago, and that's another big event that we did a couple of years back, and that was a big marketing push to rename our pre-show. So we're super excited about getting these influencers involved in helping us get new partners within their selective genre of whatever they're focusing on, whether it be kicks, makeup, hair, and some of them are big moviegoers. So some of them are pushing like the movies. So that's kind of super exciting. So yes, with the advent of this horrible event, a lot of new things are kind of sort of coming up, some which I can't share because they're still in the works, but this one is kind of out there already, so the public knows about it. But getting influencers, and the majority of moviegoers are between 18 and 34 years old. That our sweet spot is the millennial. So it's really cool. Yeah, it works for us. So yeah, we're super excited about that. We think that'll take off. But right now, as we were saying, the new F word is it flexibility, or is it's we have to be flexible and patient. You had said pivot is the new P word.
Well, for marketers, yeah.
Yeah, but patience is also something else. We're selling, and yet they're saying, okay, let's hold off. And then once the movies are open again, we will look at you to do that. It's just a hurry up and wait. So, and the one question you did ask about what's happening in Hollywood and in movie studios, a lot of the production was shut down. So the production, whether it be for television production, but movie production. So all of the movie production shut down. So if a movie was planning to launch in July or August, September, there was no production to even finish the movie. So it had less to do. Yeah, so now it's not coming out until 2021. So
now, one crazy thing, and we don't have to talk much about this, but I just want to point this out because this is something that companies anchor themselves on, and that is the budget, the yearly or fiscal budget that they have to make numbers. And I mean, this really just throws that whole process into like, I don't know, like a hurricane-like wind of nothingness.
Well, one studio does not want to, let's say there's every 5 to 6 weeks, a blockbuster is released into the movie theater.
Right.
So what happens is every 5 to 6 weeks, you want to make sure that George Clooney's movie and Tom Cruise's movie or Matthew McConaughey's movie, nobody wants to launch the same weekend because they don't want to take away from the moviegoers, because the lifetime of a movie in a movie theater is probably 6 to 8 weeks at the most.
Right.
If Matthew McConaughey and Tom Cruise, I'm probably dating myself with these. I'm sure these younger, Selena Gomez is coming out with a movie. So right. Selena Gomez wouldn't want to launch at the same time as, I don't know, I'm going to name somebody who's super young, but I can't even remember anyone now. So what they do is they are very strategic in how and when they release their movies. What's happening now is because there's such a short window, because let's say the movies start coming out once again, Labor Day weekend through the end of the year, there's going to be one blockbuster per week being released. So we're hoping that people will jump on board and say, oh my God, I've got to go out and see Black Widow. I've got to go out and see Tenet. Oh my God, I can't wait to see In the Heights. Or there's so many great movies. Coming to America.
Bill and Ted.
Bill and Ted. Bill and Ted. You
Yeah.
bring Bill and Ted up. They just decided not only to launch via screening, so they're going to go streaming and coming into the movie theaters at the same time. First of its kind ever to happen. So they're taking a risk, but I think they spent so much money on that movie that they need to show some success in how much money it's going to bring in, and then they're going to also launch it in the movie theaters at the same time. So they don't, the studios don't know what to do either. They're kind of playing Russian roulette with how they think they're going to make the most money.
Right.
What was it? Yeah. So, the Disney films for the young people, easy. Go onto Disney streaming. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But still, you're paying $20 for a family of 5. They're losing tons and tons of money, So
One last
fingers crossed.
One last question, which is more of a crystal ball question, and you may not, I don't expect you to have the answer, but just based on your experience, do you think that I suspect that we will go back to regular movie watching experiences? This thing hopefully will blow away at some point and we'll resume our life the way it was. But do you see 2021 being this year of just tons and tons and tons of movies and things happening to make up for the previous year? Do you see something like that happening down the line, or will it be business as usual?
I don't think anything will ever be business as usual in any category ever again.
Yeah.
What's going to happen is people will continue to work from home because I think less and less people will be going into their offices. So what's happening is, when do you go to the movies? If anybody goes to the movies, it's normally Friday, Saturday, and Sundays, right? So that's where the majority of what we call the impressions or the eyeballs you're getting. So we always say, add us to your great television buy. Buy television from Monday to Thursday. Add us to your television buy Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. What's happening now is people will start going to the movies during the middle of the week because they will not be commuting. So
that makes sense.
You might finish your day at 5:30 and say, hey, honey, or hey, kids, come on, let's get out, jump in the car. We're going to go see a 6 o'clock movie, where I know myself. I work in the city. I take a 6:15 train home, or my bus. I'm home at 7:30. I'm having dinner. I'm not going out after that. I'm not going to a movie.
Right. So
what's happening is the way people watch movies will change because they'll be going 7 days a week versus 3 just on the weekends.
I have to ask because I see this a lot on Facebook and social media. I'm not a fan of drive-ins. That doesn't say I won't do a drive-in, but all of a sudden it seems like people are talking about drive-in again. What's your spin on that?
Well, drive-ins are definitely a novelty right now, right? Think about how everyone's so excited about how blue the sky is now and how clean the waters are. Right. You want to have drive-in movies? You get one movie you see at 9 o'clock because you have to wait till it's dark.
That's a good point. You
can't leave your car running, so you're sitting in the heat. Your kids are crying. The people next to you in the next car are screaming and crying. And honestly, the business model, you've gotten one person. State Farm was the one sponsor of that movie. There's no way the business model would work. Yes, it is a novelty right now. It is very nostalgic. I get it, but it's not nearly as glamorous as it sounds.
I'm glad you said that because that's the way I feel. I'm I don't know why you're so excited about that. Katie, thank you very much. This really gives us a nice insight into how a company, helps sell advertising to marketers, how marketers think, and more importantly, how the movie theater industry works, from the theater owners to the theater producers, the movie studios. I really thank you for that. Any final words you want to give on what's happening moving forward?
Oh, God. Well, the one thing I can say is, please, if you are a moviegoer, please continue to go, or please go back, because the data that we've collected so far, because we're doing a lot of research internally and we have third-party companies that are doing the research for us, people are saying we cannot wait to go back. Before the pandemic, it was America's #1 pastime, and even now they're saying we will go the same amount of times or even more now once the pandemic is over, or once everything is under control, because we wanted to ask people, will you go back after there is a vaccine? And they said no. Once we're convinced that there are the measurements put in place, we will go back. So what I want to say is, please go back. There's going to be a lot of great blockbusters, a lot of great tentpole films that are coming out within the next 6 months, within the next year and a half, and there will be a chock full of them because they were put on hold.
Well, I can tell you, I'm definitely going back. If it opened up tomorrow, I'd put on a mask and I'd go back. I mean,
exactly.
I miss the movies. I miss the
and
movies.
They don't allow you to sit next to someone. There's a chart where it's, when you order your tickets, if you say, I want this seat in row 4, it does not allow you to sit there if it's not at least 6 to 8 feet.
Yeah, which is something they do now anyway. So it's just a matter of managing that just a little bit better.
Yeah.
I agree.
I have faith. I have faith that the movies will come. They will come back, of course.
They will.
But I want the movie goers to come back as well. So please do so.
Well, listen, you have a great summer. I mean, this will come back, and I thank you again, Katie.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Great, and my students will appreciate all this inside knowledge into that. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll catch up with you soon, Roger.